The Morung dialogue koina aji the Morung Express kamba organize kuisha aro aji la panel discussion la topic to kuishugule media ethics and responsibility in a changing landscape itula oporde luigna panel discussion organize kurala thagishe Lighthouse Church there aro yedi ajila panelist khando saishugule Esther Verma, Chief Operating Officer Nagaland News Network aro R Lungleng the Longleng Show Dr. Mualemba Jamir Associate Editor to Morung Express tahan tinjun panelist thagishe to ajila idu discussion la oporde luigna journalism ethics na lui media ethics la oporde luigna tahan bi ki discuss kuina jawa aro yede alak students can be from the college patkai aro alak colleges kan babi aigana limited seats hului tahan aigana participate kwala bi ami andikyo paise so ibi itula panel discussion la oporde luigna details soman visuals sisalo.
I warmly welcome you to today's very important panel discussion. I see a lot of young people and students today, and that's really encouraging. We're especially honored to have three accomplished panelists with us today, practitioners whose expertise, insights, and experience will guide us in our discussion today. Let us also take this time to appreciate and support the Morung Express for hosting this timely dialogue and for their vision of creating a culture of dialogue and reflection in Nagaland, and also for their commitment to social responsibility and critical thinking. To frame the context of our discussion on the theme Media Ethics and Responsibility in a Changing Landscape, let me begin with some opening remarks. We all understand that this evolving media environment, from traditional print to the explosion of digital and social platforms, is a global phenomenon as we witness a radical shift in how people consume information, how this is shaping public opinion, governance, and social harmony in ways that we could not have imagined a generation ago. This has also made the role of ethics in media more critical than ever. As indigenous people, all of us, rooted in our oral traditions, trusting what we are told by the custodians of information in our society has been our way of living, because as a people, that is how we survived. But now this changing landscape of digital age and digital media, we find ourselves in a very precarious zone. Our oral traditions that we have received for generations of our preserved knowledge, history, and values, it's been going on for generations. And as a culture, we have a trust reflex to, trust the stories that has been narrated by our elders or people who are responsible in the community. Yet it is precisely this strength that makes societies vulnerable when fake news arrives with a facade of authenticity. This information cloaked in familiar tones of authority and then the appearance of credibility. So in doing so, it slips past our filters of trust, making it harder for us to tell what is fact and what is fabrication. Adding to this, we all now live in an algorithm-curated space where, we are fed with only what we want to hear and what we want to see. And this is creating something called the echo chambers that fuels deeper polarization and sharper divisions. I also want to say that our exposure as a society in Nagaland to mass media has been far shorter than elsewhere. For decades, our villages, and small towns in Nagaland, we have only relied on entirely on radio. I say this because later on came TV and print media, but this largely catered to the English-speaking demographic and urban elite. Even today, many villages and small towns have no access to newspapers. And vernacular print is still nascent because, majority of the population have not had access to reading print news in their own languages. Though I agree, there are some like Mogokchung or Kohima, they may have had vernacular print for many decades. So critical reading and analysis remains limited in our society. But today, while most households in our villages may not own a television, almost every person now owns a mobile phone, even in the remotest corner of our state. and they can access social media, at the very least YouTube. This is liberating. For the first time, everyone has an equal footing to access information and news. But it's also fraught with danger. The risk is that along with genuine information, misinformation and propaganda now travels just as quickly, blurring the line between truth and falsehood. Research also shows that societies and regions with a long reading culture are often more resilient to misinformation. So for example, states like Kerala, with over a century of vernacular newspaper, have nurtured habits of questioning and debate. Countries like Finland has media literacy in schools from very early age, helping citizens identify bias and disinformation. By contrast, in Nagaland, our journey has been different. We have sort of leapt directly from radio to YouTube and WhatsApp University. So for most, and including the youth, we have skipped these intermediate stages that could have helped develop critical news consumption skills and media literacy as a community, and our muscle memory of reading critically for generations is quite weak. So this missing intermediate stages makes our entry into the digital media abrupt. It means our filters of discernment for truth is weak and is different, and our vulnerabilities are again different too. So it is here in this very fragile space that we must ask, what is it? What does it mean to tell the truth? And what does it mean to seek the truth actively? So the challenge before us here today is not only how information is presented, who reports it, how is it reported, but as a society, we must begin to learn to consume, question, and trust news responsibly, and how we should demand for truth and integrity. Trust has always been the core and the heart of oral culture, and it is also the foundation of journalism. With trust, both storytelling and journalism, without trust, right, both journalism and storytelling lose their purpose. This is why a space like this today, dialogue like this matters. As citizens, our responsibility is to question, to ask whether we're passing on the truth, to question who's behind it, or whether it may cause harm. And for practitioners, obviously, the responsibility is to integrity and accuracy over sensationalism and speed. A single unethical report can fuel ethnic tension, mistrust in government, governance, or social disharmony. So responsibility then, we understand, is not optional. It may well determine our survival as a resilient society built on trust and to be responsible for better governance. As questioning literate citizenry holds, our leaders accountable, and we can resist. By doing so, we can resist erasure by the dominant culture. So today, as our panelists share their reflections, I invite all of us to consider, how do we balance wit with accuracy? Do we maintain independence? How do we maintain independence under pressure, whether political, commercial, or digital? And how do we, both as journalists and citizens, ensure that truth is not a casualty in the changing media landscape? With these thoughts, I would like to invite our amazing panelists with their presentations for today. And the format will be like this. Each panelist will speak for 15 minutes, around 15 minutes, maybe 20, I don't know, depends on Akang. I am asked to be the strict class monitor, so I will be giving you a warning if you're taking too much time. Afterwards, I will open the floor for questions and comments for the audience. So I would request and encourage all of you to take note and think about questions that may add value to this dialogue.
Good morning, everyone, especially my esteemed fellow panelists, moderator, and of course, the media as well, and friends, and all the students who have come here. It's really nice to see such a young crowd to come and hopefully learn a few things, from here, take back a few positive things from this dialogue. I'd also like to thank the Morung Express for inviting me as a panelist. It's actually my first time being part of a panelist in a discussion in a dialogue, and let alone another media house inviting me, such as the esteemed Morung Express. So I really thank the Morung Express for this opportunity. Now, I'll go straight to the point, coming to the topic, media ethics and responsibility in a changing landscape. Now, this is a very important issue. In fact, now it's a boiling issue. This is just an opening that I would like to tell everybody. In the most recent, just a few months only, it has boiled down to quite a big chaotic stir across Nagaland, of course, even across the world. And we have, just like our moderator has mentioned in her opening remarks, that we have moved from an era of, curated news from few trusted newspapers, I would say, and also then we've gone to this big storm of transformation in overnight, just overnight in Nagaland, and this is a very big transformation, and now everyone is a content creator, everyone has a smartphone, just like our moderator has mentioned, and this is a very powerful broadcasting tool, just one smartphone, and this connectivity, it brings this power to somebody's hand. Anybody has this power now, and the power to inform, mobilize, and also to give a voice. This is the power that you have. And there's this saying also, of course, everybody knows that with great power comes great responsibility, is a very cliche saying as well, but it is very true. With great power comes great responsibility, and this tool, this smartphone that anybody has, I'm going to start with the smartphone. It's a very powerful tool. Now, this tool, this connection that we have with this power brings Nagaland to layers of challenges, I would say. And since we are a community, I'm going to be speaking in context to Nagaland, since my career has spanned more than 15 years in the media, in the journalism field, reporting for more than 15 years. So I'm just going to be speaking in the context of Nagaland. So now, this WhatsApp groups, like our moderator has mentioned, and all the social media platforms and feeds that come to us daily, 24 hours, this not only accelerates information, but also misinformation at a very fast pace. So at the same time, we are doing this while battling common constraints as well. Few constraints are there that will stop us also. So we need to understand and differentiate these constraints. So in this new landscape, our ethical compass, whatever we have with us, is not just something of the past now, but even more so today. It has to be inculcated, and it is a very critical tool now that we must have for the future. And we need to do this right now. Everybody, like I said, has a smartphone, and now this is a very critical tool that we need right now to have. Ethical, this compass has to be for the positive, and it cannot be, after doing the deed, after reporting, or after, spreading information or misinformation. It should not be an afterthought. The ethics, this is what I feel. And this is just my opening remarks right now, and I hope to have a very fruitful discussion with my fellow panelists as well, and open to any of your questions today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that there are, good number of youngsters, especially students among us. And this is the right age or right time for everyone to really grasp what it means to be ethical and what it means to take responsibility, I believe. Thanks to Morung Express for inviting me to be part of the panel discussion. And we're humans, we can't help but compared to our two co-panelists, they're well-experienced media personalities in Nagaland. Well, I started venturing into media just since about 3 years ago, and still I'm a baby when it comes to this field. But I believe I have a strong vision and passion in the media field. And I want to confess that I'm not from a media background. I did not study journalism or any sort of a mass communication course. But the passion came because I saw human suffering. And when I realized how to resolve this human suffering, I see dialogue and discussion as one of the strongest means to resolve this human suffering together. So that's how I started venturing into the field of media. And I would like to give you a context because I strongly believe in the power of context. When we don't have a context, anything that we see as truth are normally, we conceive it our perception is subject to misinterpretation. So for me, context is very important. Once upon a time, I would say it's not a fiction. In the 1980s, there were two reporters from the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl. They were in rural China in the 1980s, during the time when China imposed a very harsh one-child policy. While they were reporting from rural China, what they saw was a baby girl just thrown or just dumped on the roadside, by the roadside. And it really made me think how they responded to such incident, to such event. Imagine that happened in Nagaland. I can just imagine anyone just picking up the phone, recording the video and shouting everywhere, hey, there's a baby girl here. This is unethical, this is not right, this is not human. Whoever does this, whoever has done this should be punished immediately. And I could imagine the scene just spiraling out with no restraint. But you know what, these two reporters, what they did? After all, they were Pulitzer-winning reporters. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters. So what they did, they tried to understand the context. Why the babies were thrown on the roadside, by the roadside like this, with no compassion for a human baby. So what they did was they tried to understand the background of what is happening currently in China. When I was abroad doing my research, I had around 10 Chinese colleagues with me from China. And we played games, like name-calling games. And a quick name call, I would say. And then what happened was the leader called out, please step out if there is anyone among us who is just a single child in the family. And 90% of our Chinese colleagues just stepped out. That means in the 1980s and 1990s, the one-child policy in China was very, very harsh. So these two journalists, reporters from the New York Times, they also analyzed the situation and they reported accurately on what happened without any judgment or preconceived notion. They did not judge whoever has thrown the baby by the roadside. They looked at it from various angles, from the social environment that was around in the 1980s and the political situation that was around in 1980s. And also, most importantly, they checked what is the policy in China then. And they found out that Chinese government has a very rigid and harsh one-child policy. Because a cultural preference for son was so strong that the baby was just thrown on the roadside. Imagine if they had just started reporting and throwing all their judgmental attitude for such an act, I think their report or their story will not reach to the global stage. But since they reported with ethics and with that responsibility as a journalist, it became a story worldwide, and they ended up winning that Pulitzer Prize award. So the point I'm trying to say here is, before you report anything, before we say anything on certain issue or certain event, it's always good for us to reflect what is going on and what makes this happen. Suppose you see a dead person on the roadside. What would you say? You'll just pick up the phone and cameraman will come and you'll start reporting. While we race for sensationalism, while we race for the first to be the reporter on this news, and while we race for all that, let's say, to get the highest views, for example, to get the on YouTube, in YouTube context, to get to become the most subscribed channel, I think sometimes I feel that we lose the content, we lose the context of what we are doing and why we are doing that. So sometimes I think a lot. Sometimes if I see a bad road, in a very dilapidated condition, what would you do? We would just pick up the microphone and we'll start speaking about the bad road there immediately. But why can't we also talk about what made that bad road? What is responsible for that road to be really, really bad? So it's always important to critically think and ask questions why certain thing happens at certain time. And I think when we start researching that, we will always get the wonderful answers, not just becoming a voice that complains, but a voice that analyzes. You know, when I was in my university days, our director came and scolded all of us because we were so enthusiastic and we're having so much zeal to become social rights activists. And every student acted like as if they are an activist. And like we would stand up for LGBTQ rights, we'll stand up for everything under the sun that we perceived as injustice. So our director came and scolded us. You all have become more reactionary, more reactive rather than analytical. And that really struck me really hard. How analytical we are. So the purpose of becoming an analytical reporter or analytical personality is to dig deep and find the truth. So at the end of the day, I believe that media's role is to inform the public about the truth of something. And when we miss the truth, there's no point. I might get like 5 lakhs views in just 1 hour. It doesn't make sense. But as long as we are able to report the truth and make our audience understand the context of why certain thing is happening at certain time, then it will make sense and it will inform the public in a very fair, logical, and analytical manner. And that's how we educate the public to understand issue in a very, very holistic manner. If we don't do that, like the 2 journalists in China found the dead baby on the roadside, we'll just resort to our emotional outburst and we lose the substance from such reporting. And as I try to understand media and reporting more and more, I believe that context has become the pillar for us to understand the issue in a very, very appropriate or in the most fair manner at that given point of time. So, media or journalists should be a moral compass without a needle. What does it mean? Like we all should become the moral compass in our society as well, but without a needle. Without a needle, what I mean by that? Without a needle, we don't have to be pressured by or any sort of clickbaits or any sort of propaganda and agenda. So be a moral compass, but don't have that needle, so that you would not go wherever you are pressured, because the needle will go wherever it is pressured, wherever it is directed to. And media should play a role as an interpreter and translator of human suffering. I believe in that. And I did not venture into media wanting to report events or wanting to do some discussion. But I believe that through discussion and dialogue, if only we can alleviate human suffering, that includes our local context, like the suffering that people are going through in Nagaland, for instance. The suffering that we as minority in religious term, or in social term, or even in political term, the suffering that comes along with being a minority is huge. So I started venturing into media. How can we alleviate those suffering? I think the purpose, the only solution is to educate people, educate each other, and when we learn something about the nature of the struggles that we're going through, then we will take action individually and also collectively. And that's how we resolve the issue together. That's what I strongly believed, and I'm still believing in that. And I hope we can make a media ethics and responsibility in a changing landscape a powerful thing to discuss, a powerful thing to pay attention to. Not just a cliche for the sake of discussion, but something that we all hold on to and live our life with that. And I believe that a lot of you are from media background also, and mass communication background, and some of you may not be also. But as responsible citizens, we have phone in our hand, internet in our hand, I strongly also believe in the idea of citizen journalism. And by that, you don't have to randomly pick up phone and report. Analyze it, see from the two sides of the story, and present it to the public. And let public be the judge of what's happening. So our duty is mostly to present the facts and the truth after analyzing it from every angle. If I were to rush in getting to report the thing, then there is high chance of making a mistake or leaving out the core truth of the matter behind. So it's a very serious business. I believe it's a very, very sacred platform that we are all trading upon. So I wish and I want to encourage all of us to be mindful of the context and to know how to interpret certain events at the right time and for the right purpose. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I don't know how I will top the three previous speakers, and since the background of today's topic has already been given, I want to frame the issue into some questions. As we all understand, the advent of technology has democratized how news are being presented or how contents are being given to the people. At the same time, this also raises a lot of ethical issues that the previous speaker has already stated before. So without going into the background, I just want to frame the issue into maybe around 4 or 3 sets of questions. The first one is, who am I? Who am I? That is, media as we are we looking at oneself and demanding transparency, or are we transparent as we demand transparency from others? That is a first important question. This is very important because as we all know, today there are each day new news outlet and digital outlet is coming up in Nagaland, and it is same everywhere. Now, if we look at how those channel or news outlet operates, it's more like they mainly operate on social media as well as on YouTube channels, right? And if we go and search about who are the people behind those, I think there is no clear website. No clear website will be there, or they don't have. We don't know who is behind the stories or outlets, and this is not restricted to just new digital media outlet. Even the established press media also suffers from this. If you look, many of you are students of mass communication, and you must have taken this in your classes. Is that, have you ever checked whether each newspaper in Nagaland has a clear philosophical objective or about us section, or a section where they inform about who the editor is, or who are the people behind the news that is being produced each day? So before demanding ethics and ethical concern from others, first the media has to practice it. So the one question that is in this context to be asked is that if media demands transparency, should it not first practice it? Right? And as we all know, again, the digital media outlet that is coming up, we see that there's certain kind of visibility because reporters are reporting and they have to report on the face. This gives a sense of transparency. However, we don't know who are the real decision makers. I'm very glad that my co-panelists today, when their outlet was launched, they had sent out press releases to others, and they had a full official launching program also, right? But many are coming up just like that. Each day we are coming across a new channels, new TV channels, and so that is the first thing. Who am I? Who are we? The second question is, who are you? So, following the first one, the second one is that who are you? That is how we practice our trade, how we practice our profession. Right? So this question pertains to how we treat others, other people, or how we treat the subjects that we are covering. For example, immigration is a big issue among us, right? And ILB, inner line permit, is a big issue. Now we have seen many a times we are seeing our reporters or journalists going into the market and sort of ambushing shopkeepers or people going on the sidewalk, right? Without maintaining instead of that, I feel, my opinion is that instead of being practicing this vigilante type of journalism, we should be asking why ILB or why the state agency are not implementing ILB very much. Right? So it is not. I feel that it is not a reporter's or journalist's duty to check whether somebody has ILB or not. Right? It is the duty of the concerned authority to do that. Ours is to highlight whether the state authorities or concerned authorities are implementing the rules and regulation effectively. So if we go into the field and challenging or questioning others on that whether you have a ILB or not or something other issue like that, instead of being accountable, we are making or soft targeting certain individuals or kind of acting to the communal fault lines and other issue. So this is the second issue that I would like to emphasize on. Third is, and also increasingly in recent times, every issues involving in the market or in the sidewalk or especially in Timor and Goema is framed as outsider versus local, right? Have you noticed that? It's always about outsider and versus local or Nagas or non-Nagas kind of thing. And incidentally, in some of the reports that we are doing, we are saying our Naga people, our tribe, our community. When ours is so. My question is, in such kind of reporting, where does impartiality comes in? Our concern for impartiality, and how do we choose between two sides or report two sides when we are considering one side as our brother, our community, or our fraternity kind of thing. So this is also another issues that come out when we ask the question, who are you? Right? And so when I feel that when journalism frames incident as local versus outsider, it risks becoming a participant in division rather than a witness to a fact, right? So and most importantly, if there is a scuffle in the market, it's always our side that we carry, quote unquote. I haven't seen many reports where the other side of the story is being carried. So it also, in my opinion, violates one important aspect of journalism, that is covering both sides. Thirdly, what am I doing? What are we doing? So in practice, many times we see that we are more, as other speakers have stated, we are more into sensationalism, right? And this involve framing issues through various optics and various narrative like local versus outsider or Nagas versus non-Nagas. So we are more into, and I feel completely agree with Long Ling that contextualization and is very important in our trade. In recent times, like the bully incidents or different types of videos that is being shared on social media, we tend to carry this as news without as a direct allegation, not through sensitization and other aspect. Secondly, in relation with other, what we are doing is also another thing is that the issue of privacy invasion and intrusion and soft targeting has become a very big issue. We have seen many news outlets going into people's compound or ambushing people on the street, asking different types of questions. So, as media, what are we doing? Are we doing the ethical thing by following such? By disregarding privacy of others? So these are some questions that we need to ask. With due respect to my co-panelists, there is also a gray zone between what media practitioner and journalists. So now everyone with a smartphone is a media practitioner, I should say. However, what comes with this is that often the minimal ethical concerns about accuracy, fairness, neutrality, objectivity, all this sometimes goes out of the window, and we are left with this gray zone. So it should be stressed that all journalists are media practitioner, but not all media practitioner can be a journalist, right? And lastly, in relation to what we do, there is also lately there has been allegation of bad news or money for coverage or bad content, right? And also due to different ethical concern, the press body in Nagaland is also a little bit of fragmented. We will discuss in the Q&A session of possible way forward, but my own conclusion, this thing is that we have to separate opinion and reporting, fact versus opinion. Right? Secondly, we have to adopt a shared standard between the press, the media, the digital, different platforms. Number three, we have to return to the fundamentals, that is accuracy, fairness, accountability, and most importantly, minimizing harm. How do we report responsibly is very important, which comes along with the contextualization and the responsible journalism. This is very important because we are living in a context, in a very conflict areas, as well as in a very close-knit society. What we do, what we publish has a big impact. So these are some of the issues and my preliminary comments. Thank you.
I do have a few points, and this is all supplementing to my fellow esteemed panelists also. Whatever they've said, I cannot agree more as well. And as R. Long Leng also, he said, he doesn't have a background in media. He has not studied it as such. And many of you are students here from the media background. But actually what I do agree is that it's about, again, the practicals of it, going out on the field, understanding, research. It's all about that, at the end of the day, because to be quite honest, whatever I studied, I have a bachelor's degree in mass comm. I'm really not implementing most of the things I've studied during my college days. It is all through being, in the field and reporting. So I want to also give a few points here. So see the double-edged sword of digital media. So now we're living in the digital media age, and I'm part of a channel on YouTube, Nagaland News Network, and we are sort of giving a promise to the viewers, to the public, that we are giving real-time reporting as soon as it happens. We're giving real-time, of course, newspapers. It's going to be tomorrow. I'll just give an example from yesterday's incident where two factional groups, underground groups, there was I'm sure you've seen it, watched it as well, about the fake currency racket. Now, we did the report the whole afternoon, the whole evening, and we had finished for the day. I had reached home, and I was ready to just retire for the day. Then you get a call around 9 p.m. That there's been a new development, a new update. Now, for me and this other channel, we were thinking we can do this tomorrow, so we are going to give the update anyway. But then again, it's more also of a race, because there were two newspapers that were also doing the story, and they were going to come out with the report in the morning. So before we do that, so it's a race again. It's a competition of sorts, but it should be healthy. But then again, we are there. We have a very big responsibility. So this is just an example. Just last night, we didn't want to do it today because the newspapers were going to come out with the report today, something like that. But at the end of the day, who are we doing it for? So it's for the public to know, to be aware that this is happening. This kind of things are happening around, and the lack of gatekeepers, it leads to the viral spread also. So we don't really have a check. I mean, how many media houses have actual editors, have actual topmost editors in chief that have a background in these ethics also? It's so important that the managers of such media houses, be it print or digital, we should also make sure that the heads of these media houses have an actual background, because then the staff, the employees, the reporters will just listen to something that is again unethical, and they would move along in that direction only. So that is a very important I was just going to say important news. I'm so used to saying news. So that's one of the most important points, is also to have your, I would say, bosses or editors-in-chief to have actual background in this also. It really matters. So that is there. And another one I wanted to share was what our Long Ling and our sir has also said, that importance of verification. Now, rumors, they're just, it's so easy to spread a rumor. It's just one send button, that's all it takes. And everybody is part of various WhatsApp groups, various your own communities WhatsApp groups, your own student WhatsApp groups. So it is so easy to spread. And now, how are we going to confirm this, that with multiple independent sources? I will just speak from experience. My day doesn't start as soon as I go to the field only. My day starts the moment I wake up. Then you see some sort of rumor that is on your WhatsApp group. It starts with multiple hundreds of calls, phone calls, to so many people, to various officials, to tribal bodies, organizations, just to confirm one very small piece of information you might have received. So, and it starts the moment one wakes up also. If you really want to pursue it, that is how much it should take for you to verify one really small piece of information. It could be very big, it could be small. But, sometimes this small information that you verify will have a very big positive change also. If without verifying, even though true or not, it is your duty to make sure you have verified this little information that you have received as well. So like our sir has also said, representation and bias. Who tells the story? So are we being biased? He has given an example of the local and non-local context, the constant bullying that happens as well. Now, the recent incident also at Dipupar where the bullying case happened, it was a huge riot of sorts where it could have even led to our non-local, this person to be lynched, and a repeat of the March 12, 2015 incident where the lynching happened. I'm sure many of you were very young. It's more than 10 years ago, and the lynching, but then again it's new. So even that lynching that occurred on March 12th, if all of you can look through the reports also, this was also because it also created this chaos and hatred for this man, because I've heard through various sources that it was false information that was also spread for this against this person, and he was taken out of the central jail and he was stripped naked, taken and lynched at the city tower in Dimapur. Now that time also, now it's 10 years, we still had smartphones, as much as possible a mobile phone, and then it was spread through even that kind of medium, to entice such hatred. And that's why I'm saying now with this phone, the amount of responsibility one has. If it just took that one small spark with that kind of technology just 10 years ago, then imagine now what the power of this tool has. So we have to be very careful in all of this. We cannot entice hatred, violence, chaos as reporters. Now, media literacy is, I'm just skipping through a lot of points, but one of the most important I want to hit is media literacy. It is ethics. It is just not for journalists, it's also for the common public, for the people. And in this digital age, the public also should share the same responsibility. It is just not for journalists or media professionals, but it is also the public that has to share the same responsibility. And how to identify fake news. All this should be, media houses, civil society organization must collaborate. So like today, we're having this. There's a collaboration between the Morung Express and the DIPR, but then again, the collab is also with all you students over here and the guests over here. It is all a collaboration, and that is very important. Dialogues like this should happen more often, and discussions should happen more often. And also, I want to give a few examples, okay? Conclusion and call for action. This is what is needed in Nagaland right now. We don't have a regulating body as such, because the DIPR is a government body. But then for private media houses, do we actually have to be under the IPR, the Directorate of Information? Do we have to be, because we are private media houses, and then we will fall under the mercy of the government if we are under the IPR? No, I don't think so. I feel, being the fourth pillar, so that is the thing. That should be differentiated. I'll give a recent example. September 2nd and 4th was the Assembly session, Nagaland Legislative Assembly session, and just one satellite channel was called, and the rest were not. But then again, there was a lot of hodgepodge because some media house was called, whereas the criteria for this one is not allowed. There was a lot of confusion, and the IPR they themselves, I'm very sure, was a little confused as well. But then they also have directives. So, but my point is, who is regulating this? I mean, where suddenly out of nowhere, where did this regulation come as well for media houses? So now if we have a YouTube channel, yes, but being called mere YouTubers also, is there a criteria to be called just a mere YouTuber news channel? Yes, there are very much a lot of news channels out there from Nagaland based, and one must know how to differentiate, first of all, which exactly is a proper news channel, and also what kind of information they are giving out and how they are giving it out is very important. So now the changing media ethics and the landscape as well. It is a test. Of course, it is a test right now, and it is a commitment also to your integrity and your principles as a citizen of the place you're from, and then if you're venturing to reporting, you need to understand all of that as well to be who am I, as you have just said as well, sir has said. Understand that first, and what exactly would you like to do with certain information. You have a responsibility, a very huge responsibility, students. Your mass comm, one should not just go there now because it is the digital age and it seems easy to just report with a phone. No, it's a very difficult job, and one must be very, very sure about venturing into such, with a very big responsibility into such fields. Thank you.
Tuma visuals tiki panishna each panelist around 15 to 20 minutes digna thaisha aro tahan Esther Verma, Chief Operating Officer, Nagaland News Network, taiba shuru guna taiba opening remark tigna aro alak followed by R Lungleng, the host of Longleng Show, aro Dr. Mualam Pachamir, Associate Editor, Morung Express, tahan turn by turn loigana tahan la point of view noile tahan la opening remark koigana chala shuru guna jaina, followed by Q&A from the students mahan itu dikho paise. To tahan la opening remark te Esther Verma, Chief Operating Officer, Nagaland News Network, taiba kuishe ki social media noilu itu mohan la smartphones khando koishe gule itu to ekta bishi important tool ase guina taila edu panel discussion de tai itu kwala mihan janio paise aro tai kuishe ki itula tool ba kuishe gule it brings a layers of challenges tai itu kuishe aro social media do kuishe gule khali husa ekla to nate kuishe holi Kidawado misinformations can be bishi social media this spread hoy edu tai tala opening speech te kwala aman tikyo baishe aro tai kuishe ki ethical campus has to be inculcated itu kwala aman tikyo baishe aro R Lungleng, the host Longleng Show, tai wabi tala opening remark te tai itu kuishe ki tai itu host show start kurado kuishe gule tai manula sufferings kan tikhigena itu manula sufferings ya de social media de put up grow karne tai itu shuru guna chala thaiksu she aro tai dala opening remark te kuishe ki social media journalism hoilui ki la platform hoilui mohan context to kuishe gule itu ekta bishi important ase goina tala opening remark ti to kwala bi amian tikyo paise aro Dr. Mualamba Jamir, Associate Editor, The Morung Express. Taiwa tala opening remark to questions ti frame kuina tai kwala amian tikyo paise aro tai itui kuishe gi reporting time de noiliwi mohan kidawa social media de mohan iku news soilwi mohan display gre etu khan do gushugle mohan facts aro opinion do differentiate kro lage koina basic journalism ethics kan itu kan state koina tai kwala ame antikho paise aro questions kan students kan ba noiliwi tade poigena thaka khamba Q&A la sessions tiwi discussion kuina pishi jaise itu journalism ethics aro media ethics and responsibilities in a changing landscape itula oporde luina bishi discussion kurina jaise itu time de panelist action ba guise ki kidiawado as a human mohan mistake kure enaga guise to enaga mohan kidiawa false information noli mistake news can report kure itu time de mohan accountability thaiko lage koina aro nichola mistakes to correct koina aro cross correct koina aro itula information to display ko lage koina aro mohan kidia mohan kaldi guise itu time de nicho kaldi ase koina manual lage koina itu itai ekta basic ethics of media and journalism itu kwala bi amen janio baise aro ar longleng babi guise ki platforming to koise ule itu to problem na hoi guise holui mon question nu hutigena rakhi dia do itu hi tangwara la problem ase koina inaka kwala amen tikyo baise to ajila panel discussion to itu thaigise Saidagui, Nagaland News Network. This is Jimishi with my camera person Timchin for Nagaland News Network.